4 months ago, I decided to start a retirement planning channel on YouTube. And here's something I never expected. Starting a YouTube channel about retirement planning actually made me a better financial advisor. I thought I'd just be sharing what I already knew, but the discipline of creating content week after week taught me lessons about money, consistency, and long-term success that completely changed how I help my clients plan for retirement. And honestly, some of these lessons, they're the same ones that separate people who retire confidently from those who struggle. I'm PJ Gibbs with Trello Wealth, and today I'm sharing the 4 biggest retirement lessons I learned from building this channel from scratch. Lessons that might just change how you think about your own retirement plan. When I first started this channel, I tried to listen to all the advice that tells me it's a long game. But I'll be honest, I had big visions. In the back of my mind, I thought if I could create just one viral video, everything would just take off. Maybe you've had similar thoughts about retirement. If I could just get that big bonus or that one great investment return, I'd be set for life. But here's what actually happened. Those first videos maybe got 50 views, maybe 100 if I was lucky. Some weeks I do all the research and think I came up with the perfect video, but barely anyone watched. It would have been easy to quit, but I kept showing up. Every single week, another video. And now something fascinating is starting to happen 4 months in. The channel didn't explode overnight, but it's compounding over time. According to YouTube's 2025 data, there are approximately 69 million creators on the platform, with 20 million videos uploaded every single day. The creators who succeeded aren't necessarily the ones with the best production quality on day one. They're the ones who show up consistently and let their content compound over time. This is exactly how retirement savings works. It's not about making one perfect investment decision. It's about consistency. When you invest a fixed amount regularly, whether through your 401k, your brokerage account, or your IRA, you're using a strategy called dollar cost averaging. You're buying more shares when prices are low and fewer when prices are high. And research shows the disciplined approach typically outperforms trying to time the market. Let's say someone has $300,000 saved. If they invest $6,000 a year consistently from age 25 to 65 at a 10% annual return, they'd end up with over $2.7 million. But if they try to time the market or invest erratically, waiting for that perfect moment, they often end up with far less. In fact, studies show that lump sum investing beats dollar cost averaging about 2/3 of the time, but only when you actually invest the lump sum immediately. The problem is most people delay, and that delay costs them. Here's my lesson from YouTube that applies directly to retirement. Slow, steady growth is the strategy that actually works. Whether we're talking about subscriber counts or investment accounts, consistency beats perfection every single time. In the beginning, I made a decision. I was going to focus specifically on income, investment, and tax planning for people approaching retirement. That's my specialty as a CFP. That's what I'm genuinely passionate about. But some weeks it's hard. I'll post a video about Social Security survivorship planning that seemingly gets overlooked, while another creator talks about infinite banking and gets 1 million views. But I know a narrowed focus will build a more engaged audience and my videos will ultimately perform better. I'm not trying to compete with every finance channel. I'm serving a specific group of people with specific needs. This is exactly what I see with retirement planning. People often make the mistake of not having a clear investment policy statement. They chase every hot stock tip, every trending investment, every new strategy they hear about from a neighbor or see on social media. They're trying to do everything. But here's what the research shows. Specialization and focused planning dramatically improve retirement outcomes. According to retirement planning specialists, plans that use a formal written retirement strategy, one that integrates investment allocation, tax planning, Social Security decisions, can extend portfolio longevity by up to 7 additional years compared to more general approaches. That's not a small difference. That's the difference between running out of money at 85 versus having resources until 92. A study found that 62.5% of people with a formal retirement plan reported higher confidence about their ability to retire compared to those without a structured plan. And here's the key. Those formal plans weren't trying to do everything. They had clear objectives. They knew the client's risk tolerance. They had specific withdrawal strategy tied to specific accounts. Think about it this way. When you're sick, you don't go to a general practitioner for heart surgery. You go to a cardiac specialist. The same principle applies to your money. If you're approaching retirement, you want someone who specializes in retirement income planning, tax optimization for retirees, and Social Security strategies. Not someone who dabbles in everything but masters nothing. My YouTube channel taught me this the hard way. Focus on what you're good at and serve that audience really well. Your retirement plan should do the same thing. Running a YouTube channel as well as a wealth management firm means I have to stay on top of every regulatory change that affects retirees. When the Secure Act passed, I had to quickly research it and ultimately create videos explaining the new rules. When RMD ages changed, I had to update my content. When there are shifts in new tax law or new retirement account provisions, I can't just ignore them. My audience demands accurate, current information. And here's what I learned. Retirement planning is not a one-time event. It requires constant vigilance and adjustment. Let me give you some concrete examples. As of 2024, the required minimum distribution age is now 73. If you were born between 1951 and 1959, and it will eventually increase to 75 for those born in 1960 or later. This is a significant change from the old age of 70 and a half. If you're not aware of this, you might start taking distributions too early, triggering unnecessary taxes, or too late, incurring penalties. Here's another one. Starting in 2024, Roth 401k and 403bs no longer have required minimum distributions during your lifetime, aligning them with Roth IRAs. This changes the calculus for many retirees who are planning to roll over their Roth 401ks solely to avoid RMDs. Now you can leave it in the plan if that makes sense for your situation. And there's more. The penalty for missing an RMD dropped from 50% to 25% and can be reduced to 10% if you correct it quickly. Enhanced catch-up contributions now allow people aged 60 to 63 to contribute up to $11,250 to their 401k in 2025, up from the standard $7,500 catch-up. Why am I rattling off all these details? Because retirement planning in 2025 and 2026 requires you to stay current. The rules change, tax laws evolve. What was optimal advice 5 years ago might not be optimal today. Clarity reduces costly mistakes. Just like I learned that clear, well-structured YouTube videos perform better than confusing ones, I've seen that clients with clear, well-documented retirement plans that are reviewed and updated annually, are far more confident and far less likely to make expensive errors. Your retirement plan isn't something you create once and forget about. It's something you revisit, refine, and adapt as laws change, as your life changes, and as the market changes. Here's one of the hardest lessons I learned running a YouTube channel. You have to ignore the noise. Every week, there are dozens of finance channels screaming about the next market crash, the next big opportunity, the next thing you absolutely have to do right now. Some of these channels have millions of subscribers. They're loud, they're persuasive, and they're often wrong. I had to develop thick skin. I had to learn to filter out the noise and focus only on constructive feedback that actually helped me improve. Because if I tried to react to every comment, every criticism, every competing channel's hot take, or even the silence, I'd never have a consistent message. I'd be all over the place. This is exactly the challenge retirees face, and it's one of the most important lessons from behavioral finance. Studies show that emotional decision-making, driven by biases like loss aversion, herd behavior, and overconfidence, lead investors to deviate from rational long-term plans, often resulting in significantly lower returns during market volatility. Let me give you some numbers. In a study of 234 investors, behavior biases, including emotional responses to market volatility, herd behavior, and overconfidence, significantly influenced investment decisions, with statistical significance at p greater than 0.05. The research found that herd behavior had the strongest impact during periods of uncertainty, causing investors to follow the crowd rather than to stick to their plan. Here's what this looks like in real life. When the market drops 30% in a matter of weeks, like it did back in March 2020, retirees panic. They sell everything and go to cash. They think they're protecting themselves, but what they're actually doing is locking in losses and missing the recovery. Research from Mercer Advisors shows that loss aversion causes investors to feel losses twice as painfully as equivalent gains, which prompts panic selling during downturns and overly conservative strategies that underperform over time. On my YouTube channel, I created a short to combat this called Why Markets Rally During Government Shutdowns Even When Headlines Scream Crisis. I made it because I was tired of seeing clients get spooked by doom and gloom commentary. These so-called experts have one job: deliver your eyeballs to their advertisers. And fear is the easiest way to keep your attention. But here's the reality. There will always be reasons to be scared. There will always be another crash prediction. There will always be someone telling you to sell everything. If you react to all of that noise, you'll never stay invested long enough to benefit from compounding returns. The Morgan Stanley Behavioral Finance Guide puts it perfectly. When making an investment decision, consider the source of the recommendation. Are your circumstances similar? Is the timing and valuation still the same? Most of the time, the answer is no. The discipline I developed ignoring negative YouTube comments is the same discipline you need to ignore market noise. Focus on what you can control: your savings rate, your asset allocation, your withdrawal strategy, your tax planning. Ignore what you can't control: daily market movements, talking heads on CNBC, and doomsday predictions from people trying to sell newsletters. So here's what I've learned from building this YouTube channel and helping families plan for retirement at Trail of Wealth. Retirement success isn't about perfection. It's about consistency. It's about focusing on what matters and ignoring the noise. It's about adapting when rules change and staying disciplined when emotions run high. And if you're serious about retiring with clarity, confidence, and peace of mind, don't leave it to chance. We help families and retirees simplify financial complexity with personalized planning and disciplined investment management. If you'd like our help creating a plan that's built for your specific situation, not some generic rule of thumb, schedule a call with our team at Trail of Wealth. You can also download our free retirement readiness checklist using the links in the description. Let's make sure you're not just saving for retirement, you're planning to actually enjoy it.